I was reading on Twitter people commenting on the Meyer versus Mark Waid issue. They were quoting the deposition where an employee of Antarctic Press said something to the effect that they had reached the decision to cancel the contract prior to Waid's telephone call. If true, does it matter to the claim that Waid interfered with contract or interfered with economic advantage, a similar tort where no contract is required? Probably not. Until Antarctic Press communicated to Meyer their intent to end their agreement, they still had an agreement, and thus Waid did interfere with the contract. One issue that presents itself is, what if the contract between Meyer and Antarctic Press was unenforceable for some reason? What if the contract could have been canceled by either Meyer or Antarctic Press prior to performance? Does it have to be in writing? Everyone who has taken a business law course vaguely remembers defenses to contract: mistake, unconscionability, fraud, statute of frauds, incapacity, infancy, duress. Isn't there a requirement for contracts for land or for amounts greater than $500 that they have to be in writing? Broadly speaking, yes. But that is an issue between Meyer and Antarctic Press. It's not relevant to Meyer versus Waid. The only relation might be is if Texas law says interference with economic advantage is a better claim than interference with contract. In Texas, the elements that must be shown to recover damages for tortious interference with an existing contract are a contract, intentional active interference with the contract, the interference must approximately cause the plaintiff's injury, the plaintiff suffered actual damages. Again, interference with economic advantage is similar and is probably also claimed by Meyer. Waid has an uphill battle here. Keep in mind that the events very publicly played out on social media. Here's a brief history. Waid publicly fights with Meyer and the people in Comicsgate, claiming they are essentially racist and sexist, implying that anyone that bought Comicsgate books was racist and sexist. There was a long history of animosity between Waid and Meyer and Comicsgate. Some of Waid's statements were probably defamatory, specifically against the professionals involved or associated with Comicsgate, i.e. Meyer, Ethan Van Sciver, and a dozen more, but also generally against the thousands who bought Meyer's books. Waid's claim that the members of Comicsgate were an alt-right group of racists and sexists is absurd, especially when you look at the people loosely connected with Comicsgate. It includes different races, religions, national origins, sexualities, and political affiliations. Waid defamed Meyer and Comicsgate, essentially poisoning the waters of anything to do with Myers and Comicsgate. His actions led to an environment where the names Meyer and Comicsgate would forever be associated with racism. Waid's followers repeated these defamatory statements in the cycle of harassment. Two people associated with Comicsgate have been doxxed and swatted: Peter Simeti of Alterna Comics and Edwin Boyette, a YouTube reviewer, two of the nicest guys. Waid heard of Antarctic Press's intent to publish Meyer's book Jawbreakers. Waid publicly announced that he had a call-in to Antarctic Press. Antarctic Press very publicly ends the contract with Meyer. The owner of Antarctic Press calls Meyer in tears. Now, a Waid defender may argue that Waid was merely warning Antarctic Press that publishing Meyer's book would be bad for business. Here's the thing. Waid was effectively warning Antarctic Press of a social media mob that Waid had set in motion. It would be very difficult for a jury not to view Waid as a bad actor with malicious intent. I want to ask Waid's defenders, why is this behavior acceptable to you? They might answer that Waid was acting in good faith by warning Antarctic Press that Meyer and Comicsgate was either actually racist or perceived as such. But as mentioned, Waid is responsible for spreading these lies. And the fact that it is a lie. Meyer has zero history of racism. Meyer has hundreds of YouTube videos. If there was evidence, it would be out there, and it's not. If there was no evidence of Meyer being a white supremacist, was Waid ethically justified in calling Antarctic Press? Another thing to consider. Antarctic Press aren't naive babes in the woods. They have a social media presence. They know Marvel, DC, and the rest are far left. They aren't idiots. The vast majority of the writers and artists in the industry are very publicly far left. They have created an unsafe and hostile environment for moderates and anyone right of center. If you are right of center, you won't exactly get fired, but when your contract runs out, you just won't get rehired. This article from Bleeding Fool: Neil Adams claims to be against blackballing in comics community. Veteran artist Adams, famous for his work on Batman, among other notable ventures, first posted the following tweet, worried about conservatives blackballed for their politics. Whoa, I'm hearing that certain creatives are not getting work because of their Republican political views. I hope this is wrong. We are a creative community, not a political party. The very thought that blackballing for political reasons happens would be just plain wrong. That's 10:14 p.m., March 11th, 2019. Alas, it's not wrong if you take Chuck Dixon's experience as an example, also Mike Biller, Billy Tucci, Peter Smeddy. It's a problem much deeper than it looks on the surface, and it isn't limited to just the majors. Even minor players can be pretty foul. Unfortunately, later in the day, after writing the first tweet, Adams proceeds to write the following. Well, 100 phone calls later, and I haven't found any talented artists or writers who don't get work because of their political views. I was pretty thorough, and I could be wrong, but I just can't find it. I hope all in our biz do well. Love you all. And that was at 4:53 p.m., March 12th, 2019. You have to wonder what happened in those few hours to make him change his tune. Anyway, Associated Press, Antarctic Press, knows this. They know Meyer is the focus of a far-left hatred from the inside of Marvel and DC, but they decided to do business with Myers anyway. They had no idea that one of the most powerful people in comics would try to stop them doing business with a 12-year veteran with 3 mixed kids. Why are people defending Mark Waid? Anyway, leave a like and a comment, because the open exchange of ideas is a beautiful thing.